Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video. So today I changed it up a little bit. I'm sitting here outside in the morning time. It's gonna get like in the late 90s here in Texas later. So I decided to film it earlier in the morning. It's like 7:30 a.m. where I am right now. But I woke up early this morning around 5:30 to do some research on Joe Mixon to give you guys my thoughts and my insights on him for this 2020 season. So I thought that come out here, share them with you guys, and hopefully you guys can get some value from this. Hopefully you can hear well. If there is some wind, there have been some planes going over a second ago, but I'm guessing the mic's picking it up all clear. So when we first take a look at Joe Mixon, one of the biggest things to remember is this guy's on a Bengals team that has basically been pretty terrible. In the past 2 seasons, they've only won 7 of their 32 games, and last season they were 2-14, which of course allowed them to get Joe Burrow. But Mixon's been on this team that has been pretty terrible. And so the fact he's been able to put up some pretty solid numbers last season sort of shows his ability. And with an improved team this season, with a better quarterback, better offensive line, I really think that he is going to be one of the top guys this season, as many people do. Because right now, when you take a look at his ADP, it's around the 6th ranked guy. So he's being picked as one of the top guys because people really do see what his potential is and basically the improvement that this Bengals offense has made in this offseason. So if we take a look at this, well, there's a plane. Let's give it a second, see if it'll fly over. See if that noise will stop. All right. Okay, there we go. But anyways, in 2019, he ran the ball 278 times. He had about 1,137 yards and 5 TDs. And then he caught the ball for only 270 yards and 287 yards and 3 TDs. So he finished as the 11th ranked running back in standard and 13th in PPR. And the thing is about those stats is they don't really tell the entire story about basically what his potential is for 2020. And that's basically because the Bengals changed the way they're using him like halfway through the season. So like about when the bye came around, like week 8 or so, they basically decided to start using him more. If you take a look at it, in his first 8 games, he was on the field for 60% of the snaps in only 2 of the 8 games. Then after those first 8 games, he was on the field for 60% of the snaps for 6 of the last 8 games. So his usage went up like crazy. When you take a look at his stats basically completely changed. So when we take a look at those first 8 games that he was playing, he ran the ball 12 times, about average a game, for about 36 yards a game, only was averaging 7 half PPR points per game. And then from those last 8 weeks, whenever they started basically giving the ball because they realized like, wait, Joe Mixon can play? Joe Mixon is a good player? Why don't we just give him the ball? And what do you know? Whenever they give him the ball, he starts to perform. So they gave him the ball 21.6 times, which is like, what is that? Let's do some math. Almost 10 times more a game. And he produces. He runs the ball 98 yards per game in those final games for 17. Sorry, my arm's getting tired. Got to switch arms. For about 17 half PPR points per game. So when the Bengals decide to make that change, Joe Mixon comes out and puts up some crazy numbers. Because if you take a look from those 8 stats, what he would have scored about, let's see. I think it was like 200. I can't find the stat exactly. It was like 270 points. Either in that stretch or if it was extrapolated over 16 games, which would basically be like the RB5 or 6, which is basically where he's going right now. So I think people are picking him based off those final 8 games because I think the Bengals basically were like, okay, wait, this guy can play. So when they give him the ball, they recognize that he actually has some talent. He can actually, like, you know, do well. Imagine that. And so I think when you take those 8 games and you see what he did on a Bengals team last year that was terrible, just straight trash. And now you give them Joe Burrow, who is a massive upgrade at the position. Of course, he's a rookie, but he's still going to be an upgrade at the position and will still do well. You take a, you know, they have a pretty solid receiving core with AJ Green, some of those guys. And then also they added some guys on their offensive line. They added 1 veteran and then 1 guy who was like the 11th pick last season. They have both of those guys on their team. And so they should see a big improvement on their offensive line because when you take a look at their offensive line last year, in adjusted line yards, they were ranked 7th worst. So, you know, in the back half of the NFL in that category. But with these new guys coming in, I expect them to basically, you know, have their offensive line play improve, which will allow Joe Mixon to really break out. And I think when you just take a look at those final 8 games, plus the improvements that this team has made just all over the offense, I think that there's no reason to believe that, you know, Joe Mixon can't be a top 5 guy, which is why he's being picked in the top range. And so I think that in drafts, you know, I think when you're looking early, it's like you want to get one of those top 3 guys. At least me, I want to get one of those top 3 running backs because they're just head and shoulders over every single person. But let's say you get stuck with a later round pick or you like later round picks. I think Joe Mixon's a running back you can really target the end of the first round, beginning of the second round. If he even makes it there, I don't know if he will, because people are really stacking up on running backs right now. But really, Joe Mixon, I think that he has a solid floor. The team's going to be improved. He's going to, have a really good season. And one other area to look at is in the past couple seasons, they've really been giving Giovanni Bernard and him the ball about equal amount of times. But when you take a look at, like, Joe Mixon is a much better receiving back. I really think he is. And so I feel like if they can start, giving him more passes in the offense as well, that can just really move him even higher than where he is right now. Yeah, I just really think that he has just so much potential in this upcoming season. And one other thing that sort of take a look at is when you take a look at Joe Burrow last season, and just sort of the way he played and the way that he targeted the running back, he targeted Clyde Edwards-Helaire about 66 times in that season, which is a good amount, even though they had a solid receiving corps. So I think that shows that, Joe Burrow isn't afraid. He sort of likes to check it down to running backs. And I think that, of course, Joe Mixon will be the benefactor of him doing that. And so I think that's another reason to basically like him. And so I think that if you're worried about him, I don't think there's any reason to be worried about Joe Mixon. He hasn't really had much injury history as well. And so I really like where he's going. I think that he is a, good value and will be great in this upcoming 2020 season. And you should have no problem taking him as your #1 running back in 2020. So that was basically all I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you guys got some value from this video, and hope you like the change of scenery too. It's a lot nicer out here. The light's a lot better than in my room when it's dark and everything. But yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say in this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next video. See ya.